Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Raja Umar on my channel RU Speaks, and Raja Umar speaks for you for the subject of Pakistan studies and global perspectives these days. And we are discussing the history and culture of Pakistan, the topics related to the history portion of Pakistan studies. And do not forget to subscribe my channel RU Speaks to get the latest videos on Pakistan studies, history, geography, and global perspectives as well. So let's start. Today we're going to talk about the religious thinkers, and here you can see the notes related to the religious thinkers, and in this particular topic we will discuss the services, contributions, and the importance of the services of the religious thinkers like Shah Waliullah, Syed Ahmed, Barelvi, Haji Shariatullah, and Titu Mir. So first of all, talking about Shah Waliullah, that his services, first of all, keep in mind that he was born in 1703 AD, and you can say 4 years before the death of Aurangzeb. 4 years before the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal emperor. So it means that he was in that phase when the Mughal empire started declining really very rapidly. So, what were his services towards the revival of Islam in the subcontinent? The most important one is the translation of Holy Quran in Persian language. And, at that particular time, the Persian language was really very much in, and the people were really very much speaking this language frequently across the subcontinent. And it was really very much, the people were really very much familiar with the language. So, Shah Waliullah thought that to clear up the minds of the people regarding the teachings of the Holy Quran, it was must to translate Quran in that local language, that is the Persian language. So, despite the opposition of the ulamas, that the ulamas of that time, they started blaming Shah Waliullah that he tried to manipulate the teachings of Quran, and Quran should not be read or should not be translated in any other language, as it is the sanctity and the dignity of Holy Quran that it should remain in Arabic language but not be translated into any other language. But Shah Waliullah was in some deeper sort of thinking that to make the teachings of Quran easier for the Muslims, that's why he did this fabulous sort of toss. So it was easier for the common Muslims to act on Islamic teachings. That was the major purpose of translating Quran into Persian language. Thus, Islam was revived among the locals, that they were now very much familiar with the Quran and the Allah Almighty's orders and the teachings. So that was much easier for them. So this also paved way for his sons Shah Ismail and Shah Rafi to translate Quran into Urdu language, making it available for even more people across the subcontinent. So this service of Shah Waliullah and his sons would remain really very much significant for the revival of Islam in the subcontinent. Abolishing sectarianism. Shah Waliullah was really very much against the differences between the Sunnis and the Shias across the subcontinent, as these sects, they were creating trouble and they were going against the Islamic unity concept. So that's why he tried to stop Muslims dividing into different sects. He studied the differences between the Sunnis and Shias objectively and wrote an account of the first 4 caliphs in a way acceptable to both groups. So that was a greater service that he put in the you can say the comparative analysis of both the sects, and brought the similarities in front, so that whatever the concepts were over there, common concepts, they should be acceptable for all. So thus tried to reconcile between them to unite the Muslims as a single ummah. So huge scholarly work. He wrote 51 books, different aspects of Islam like fiqh and hadith. Significant among them were the Hijjatul Baligha and Azlatul Akhfa. This helped Muslims understand Islamic principles and act on them. Again, that was a greater service. So teaching services, he was over there in his father's opened madrasa that was known as Madrasa Rahimia. you can say that his father's name was Maulana Abdul Rahim. So he opened that madrasa near Delhi. So first he studied over there, then he started teaching over there in that madrasa and he taught over there for many years. Important as it paved the way for the youth to familiarize themselves with the fundamental principles and glorious past of Islam, hence inducing solidarity and pride in them regarding their religion. Another really very important aspect of this particular factor is that there were the students over there studying in that madrasa. They were from far off places of the subcontinent. They went over there and they studied, and after getting knowledge of Islam and the hadith, they spread across the subcontinent and spreaded the message what they learnt over there in that madrasa. So that was a greater sort of service of Shah Waliullah towards the revival of Islam in the subcontinent. Unity among the Muslims. He tried to unite the Muslims against the Marathas and Sikhs so Islam could be protected and revived. It was also he who invited Ahmed Shah Durrani from Persia and Afghanistan. He defeated the Marathas and the Muslims were saved from the Maratha tyranny. So it means that he provided this sort of service as well, that as he was not a warrior himself, so he invited a warrior, Ahmed Shah Durrani from Afghanistan and Persia, to come and fight against the Hindu Marathas to save the Muslims from the brutal sort of rule of Marathas in the central and southern India. So stressing on social values, revived Islam in the prevalent economic system by stressing on social justice and equality. He made laborers and craftsmen more aware by stressing that they should be paid justly, and urged traders and businesses to adapt a fair Islamic system of trading, thus eliminating sense of corruption in business activities. So it means that he wanted to purify every sort of aspect of Islam, including the economic system, that there should be no interest over there. There should be no sort of discrimination. There should be no exploitation of the workers and the laborers. So this was a greater, you can say, service by him. So he wanted to revive Islam in the subcontinent. That he wanted that there should be he believed that most of the problems of Muslims was due to their incomplete knowledge and understanding of Holy Quran, as the Quran was in Arabic language, and that was not really very much the language which people were able to understand or to act upon. So that's why he did that service of translation of Holy Quran into the Persian language to make the Quranic teachings easier for the people, so that they should be accessible for all and they should act upon on them and could be able to make themselves very much purified sort of Muslims. The Muslims community was divided into sects such as Sunnis and Shias. Thus, they were vulnerable to attacks on their religion. Shah Waliullah wanted them to put aside their differences so that a more united and strong community, Islamic community, could be created over here in the subcontinent. So many un-Islamic practices had entered Islam due to constant interaction with Hindus and other non-Muslim communities of the subcontinent. Thus, they had forgotten the moral and spiritual principles of Islam. Hence, Shah Waliullah wished to revive Islam to purify the Islamic society out of all those things should be thrown out of the Islamic society, which they had adapted from the Hindus and the other non-Muslim communities. So this was all about the services of Shah Waliullah, and here are the questions related to Shah Waliullah, that why did Shah Waliullah wish to revive Islam in the subcontinent? And I have just explained the reasons in the upper paragraph. The three reasons were there to explain a 7 marker. So here you can see another 7 marks question. Why did Shah Waliullah have such a major influence on the revival of Islam in the subcontinent? Again, the things would be not really very much different. So I will explain these 4 marks questions and 3 marks questions of history in a separate lesson. That's why I'm not going to discuss these ones right now. And here you can have a 14 marker, but as we have not discussed these two, but we have only discussed this one. So if we discuss these ones, then we will be able to attempt this 14 marks question over here. So let me move on first so that to discuss the other Islamic and religious thinkers, then to come back to the questions like having all these three personalities in a single 14 marks question. So Haji Shariatullah, he was from Bengal, right? And he launched Faraizi movement. He brought his reforms movement known as Faraizi movement, started as a reaction to the anti-Islamic policies of British and Hindus. You can say this movement was a sort of protest against the British and the Hindus, those who were betraying Islam in any other possible way, and to let down the Muslims that they should not be practicing Islam. So you can say that with the help of this movement, he was trying and he tried his best to save or to protect Islam from the brutal sort of thinking and activities by the Hindus and the British at that time. The movement insisted upon the fulfillment of farais, the moral or religious obligations imposed by Allah and His prophets. So, what was the basic purpose of launching Faradi movement? Was that he wanted that the Muslims they should be offering their farais first. I mean, all those which are the religious obligations, and there is no sort of relaxation in them that they should be performed in any way, and they are ordered by God through the prophets. So, what he wanted that the Muslims should be practicing all those farais. His followers came to be known as Faraizis. All those who were following this movement, who were with Haji Shariatullah in that movement, they were known as Faraizis on account of their insistence of the fulfillment of one's duties. As a result, many Muslims declared themselves to the performance of their duties and became staunch Muslims. So it means that this movement really made the Muslims purified Muslims related to the revival of Islam on the subcontinent. Fight for peasantry rights in Bengal brought the Muslims peasantry together against the cruel exploitation by the Hindu zimidars, infused a spirit among the peasants who got together to direct jihad against the then religious and social oppression to fight for their rights. This confidence and awakening of the Bengalis from their slumber prepared the ground for the future works of his successors like Titu Mir and Dadu Mian. Dadu Mian was his son. So, he created a sort of confidence among the peasants and the land workers, those who were working on the lands of the Hindu zimidars, as the Hindus they were exploiting those workers, and they were not giving the due rights to them. So he asked them to rise for achieving their rights. So this led to a greater sort of service by him towards the protection of peasantry rights in Bengal. So elimination of Hindu customs, he worked towards elimination of Hindu customs that had crept into Muslim society due to their continuous interaction, significantly as he attempted to purify the lives of Muslims so that they could not only distinguish Islamic practices and rituals but also follow the true spirit of Islam. And there should be no Hindu practices, or there should be no Hindus customs and traditions in the Islamic society. So that was again a greater service by him. So why did he wish to revive Islam? So as just explained, that he believed that the Muslims of the subcontinent were leading miserable lives because they had started following Hindus practices due to their interaction with them. Thus, he started the Faraizi movement to purify the Islamic society. The Muslims in Bengal were suppressed by the Hindu landlords. Haji Shariatullah wanted to end this tyranny as well. Thus, he started the Faraizi movement to create a sense of jihad in Muslims so that they could fight for their rights. And the third reason, the Muslims had forgotten the basic principles of Islam and did not practice religious obligations, that is farais, like prayers and fasting. Thus, he started the Faraizi movement to insist upon them to follow the pillars of Islam. So this is all about the services of Haji Shariatullah, and here we have the questions, and we have discussed this one as well. Describe the achievements of Haji Shariatullah in reviving Islam. just explained, it was a 4 marker, and the response is given over here in this source as well. And this was the sort of previous pattern that the 4 marker questions were having source, but now we have a source question of compulsory question 1A. So did Haji Shariatullah contribute more than the spread of Islam than anyone else in the subcontinent before 1850? Explain your answer. 14 markers question. Again, this question can be having the comparative analysis of Shah Waliullah, Haji Shariatullah, and Syed Barelvi. And we can also talk about Titu Mir as well. So the comparison of all these four can lead to a 14 marks question. We will discuss it later, and the notes will be available in the description of this video. So do follow that description to download those notes from my Google Drive. So Titu Mir, he was a disciple of the Syed Barelvi. His real name was Syed Mir Nasir Ali. He was from West Bengal and led the peasants' uprising in his area. He was a man of action. Like his teacher, he was killed while fighting against the British in 1831. Beliefs: he was a man of action. He believed in the practicality of life. He did not like the rule and cruelty of British and Hindu landlords. It was his belief of standing against the oppressor's rule. So his work: he provoked the British to give confidence to Muslims to stand against the cruelty for the sake of their protection of their identity and to achievement of their rights. He worked for the rights of the peasants in Bengal. He attacked Hindu landlords and defeated them boldly. He made village of Nalkarbaria his headquarters and gathered a small army over there. He constructed a bamboo fort for his army to stay in. So importance of his work: he provoked fear in the hearts of British and Zamindars against the uprising launched by him. He carried out the Faraizi movement ahead after the death of Haji Shariatullah. He gathered a small army to have the jihad in moving. He inspired Muslims to take defense for the religious identity and protection of rights. Dodu Mian, he was from the West Bengal and prominent leader of Faraizi movement and led the movement after the death of Haji Shariatullah. He played active role in War of Independence as well of 1857. So he established administrative system in his area with a slogan, "Land belongs to those who cultivate it." That was a greater slogan. This was a sort of slogan which gave a confidence in the peasants that the lands on them they were working, those lands belonged to them. They might be having the greater efforts over there to get the maximum production over there for the sake of their prosperity. He organized the oppressed peasantry in Bengal to rise for their rights against the Hindu landlords. He asked his followers not to pay land tax to Zamindars. So again, because the landlords, they were exploiting the rights of those peasants. So the last one, that is Syed Barelvi, work and importance. He launched jihad movement against the Sikhs in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa these days, as it was known as the NWFP, the Northwest Frontier Province at that time. They were not letting the Muslims practice their religion freely. So he gathered an army and launched war on them. Although the Mujahideens were later defeated, this shows that his commitment to liberate Muslims from oppressive rule and grant them their due rights. So it means that he inculcated the concept of jihad among the Muslims, and that was really a greater service by him. This movement not only infused a great deal of determination and moral courage, but also had influence on future generations, inspiring them. It paved the way towards Pakistan movement, creating a clear identity of religion and culture. So it means that in one sense you can say that the Pakistan movement was in the beginning at that time because of the launch of the jihad movement in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and WFP at that time against the cruel rule of Sikhs. It unified Muslims together of different regions, creating awareness among them regarding their political, religious, and cultural rights. It was also the first movement meant to free Muslims from tyranny rather than place a rule in power. This movement lit up the candle of jihad among the Muslims who had even forgotten the meanings of jihad. So it means that the people they came forward, they became the part of the army of Syed Barelvi, and they fought against the Sikh rule and tried to liberate the lands. Reasons of launching the jihad movement, that why he launched this jihad movement by Syed Barelvi. The six rulers of Punjab were not letting the Muslim practices their religion freely, and even the azan call for prayer was banned in Punjab at that time. This angered Syed Barelvi, and he launched the jihad movement against the Sikh for Muslim religious freedom. He launched it against the two main anti-Muslim forces, British in Bengal and Sikh in Punjab. He was aware that British were hard to defeat as a superpower and thus hard to defeat. Therefore, he launched the jihad movement against the Sikhs first. They were relatively weaker force, and he thus was more likely to win against them. So, what was his major focus? That first to defeat the Sikhs in Punjab, and then to move towards the higher level of enmity towards the British. Syed Barelvi knew that Punjab was surrounded by Muslim majority tribes, which encouraged him to fight against the Sikhs, as they could help him and they could become the part of his army. They could even help him financially to run his movement against the Sikhs of Punjab. So, reasons of failure of jihad movement: Syed Barelvi was not well trained in military tactics. That's why he was unable to defeat the really very much trained and disciplined army of Sikhs. Fighters were teachers mostly, or spiritual leaders. They were not really the trained fighters. This made it difficult for the Mujahideen forces to fight against the Sikhs and come up with clever strategies to defeat them. On the other hand, the Sikhs were tough and well trained under Ranjit Singh, who was a strong military ruler. The Muslim army was disunited. The Muslims were of many different backgrounds. They were from different parts of the subcontinent. They did not have the common ideology at that time, but they were working with Syed Barelvi. They had different thinkings over there to fight against the rule of Sikhs in Punjab. So whenever there were different thinkings and different strategies, definitely it would be really very much not effective to gain the desired objectives. Soldiers often mistrusted each other and were reluctant to agree with one another. As a result, due to the internal conflicts, there wasn't always full support from everybody, which weakened the Muslim forces, and eventually they faced defeat. The Pathans did not tolerate being in an army that they were not running themselves. They were not ready to compromise, which strained their relations with other Muslims. This weakened the Muslim forces, as there was less support from Pathan tribes, as this particular fight was over here in Punjab and the surrounding areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What Syed Barelvi was thinking about, that those Pathan tribes might be supporting him in jihad against the Sikhs, but he was unable to gain that support. This led to the failure. Syed Barelvi imposed taxes on locals to bear the military costs, but local peoples were pissed off, since they had never paid such a tax and were thus resented Syed Barelvi. As a result, he lost support of the local people, which further weakened his forces. He ran short of the money to meet the military costs of the whole of this adventure. So his army disintegrated, and he was unable to fight as a collective force. So he thus lost money from taxes, and his funds became limited, and thus not all the military costs could be afforded. They could not improve upon buy more needed military equipment, leading to having the outdated sort of situation, and defeat was inevitable. Moreover, Syed Barelvi's army was not sincere to him. There were attempts by Yar Muhammad Khan to assassinate him. He thus had to tackle with internal threats as well as the external ones. Thus, his attention was diverted from his main goal, which was to defeat the Sikhs. Yar Muhammad Khan's army betrayed him in battle in Akora, weakened his fighting and caused him defeat. When Syed Ahmed Shaheed Barelvi was moving towards Balakot after being defeated at Akora, traitors informed Sikhs of Muslims' route. Thus, the Sikhs prepared themselves and strengthened their forces, which made it easier for them to defeat the Muslims. So, when they launched their surprise attack at Barakot, the Muslims were unprepared for this unexpectedly attack and was defeated. And finally, Sayyid Amishad Barelvi was also martyred over there at Balakot in 1831. The Sikh outnumbered the Muslims in this battle. The weaker Mujahideen lost and Sayyid Amishad Barelvi was martyred, effectively ending the jihad movement in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So this was all about the services of Syed Ahmed Sheikh Barelvi as well, and we have talked about all those religious thinkers of the subcontinent. We talked about Shah Waliullah, we talked about Haji Shariatullah, we talked about Tetumir, Dadumia, and Syed Ahmed Sheikh Barelvi. So this is a greater sort of service by all these for the sake of revival of Islam in the subcontinent. And I will share the notes of all these in my Google Drive, and that will be available in the description of this video. Do not forget to download those notes and prepare accordingly. I have already explained you people the 7 marks and 14 marks marking scheme with you already. So keeping in view that marking scheme, attempt those questions, keeping in view the notes in mind, and notes would be according to the marking scheme. So you will be able to having the well preparation of your exams. And this is from my side up till now. Thank you so much. Do not forget to subscribe my channel RU Speaks, Rajama Speaks for you. And in the next lesson, we will talk about the War of Independence events. And till then, it's over. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.